My first perfect day in Legend League. What are some tips that you can use in order to get your own perfect day in Legend League and get 320 Legend League trophies? Let's get into it. So if you're watching this 6 months down the road, 9 months down the road, 10 months down the road, this meta might not be still true, so you want to make sure that you're using whatever army comp that it is that you're using. But currently in the meta, Root Riders are absolutely smashing everything. The army camp that I'm using is 10 Root Riders, 10 Valks, 2 Headhunters, and those Headhunters are super important, as you'll see in some of the attacks that I'm going to show and the tips that I'm going to give. We are going to bring a Warden's Apprentice and 2 Wizards. Those Wizards are solely used to help with cleanup, although this attack is super fast, so you're not going to have to worry about not having enough time for cleanup. I will bring 3 different siege machines. So I'm going to bring a siege barracks, I'm going to bring a log launcher, and I'm going to bling flinger. Now, I will use the siege barracks mostly. Most of the time, that's what I'm using with my attacks. But if you can find a base where you can get some really good value with your flame flinger, then it is very valuable to use. And then the last attack that we're going to show you is one of those really frustrating invisibility vial bases where the invisibility vial is covering up the town hall and it's right in the center, kind of separated from everything. I will typically use a log launcher with those attacks as well in order to trigger those invisibility spell towers, invisibility vial. The invisibility spell towers early, so that's typically the reason that I'll bring a log launcher. Now, as far as spells go, I'm going to have a rage, and I'm also going to have a rage in my CC, 5 freeze, 2 skelly spells, and that's going to be very specific to this attack, and I'm going to explain why here in a little bit. Of course, using 1 overgrowth spell. Now, if you want to change this comp up a little bit, and for example, in our CC, I bring 2 Root Riders, a Valk, and 2 Barbs. If you want to bring something else in your CC, if you want to try to do it with 8 Root Riders and a few more Valks, or if you want to try this attack with some Super Barbarians instead, then it's completely viable to do that. You have to adjust it, but the principles that I'm going to share with you, some of the tips, may help you out. And so let's go ahead and get into the first attack to show you what I do that hopefully can help you. So the first thing that I do whenever I have a base that comes up is decide where I'm going to attack it from. Second thing that I'm going to do is decide if I need to use any funneling Root Riders or not. So on some bases, I will put in 2 Root Riders here, 2 Root Riders here. I'll back them up with some Valks behind it. That way I can be assured that the bulk of my army is going to go straight up the center, right to the town hall. I could have done that, but not a lot of the times, but some of the times, I don't quite make it to the town hall, and I get like a 97% 1-star. That does happen a few times. So, because my name is not Klaus, my name is TipDog20, my name is not Stars, on these bases specifically, if you have the town hall in the corner, I will almost always attack from the town hall side. Now, that's good for several reasons. The first reason is because you can tome with your healing tome through the town hall poison, and that's huge because the town hall poison does so much damage. Now, the next thing that I look for once I decide what side I'm going to hit on and whether I'm just going to bring all of my troops in at one time in this great big spam army, which is what you're going to see, is where am I going to put my skelly spells. Now, with here, it's perfect because I have all of the heroes right here. I can throw both of my skelly spells down. It's going to distract the heroes. Those headhunters are coming in right behind my Root Riders and my Valks, which are going to take down all of those heroes. And then I'm just going to watch my troops. Once that town hall goes down, as I said, I don't want my troops to have to be drugged through the town hall poison. And I don't have to worry about that. I have my Eternal Tome, and I have my Healing Tome to help heal them up as they get through that. And that's typically when I'll use my Healing Tome, is whenever I'm being hit with a Skelly spell, or I'll try to hold off if there's a part of the base where there's a lot of damage. I'll hold off as long as I can, but you don't want to hold off too long because you don't want your troops to spread out so much. You want to try to get as many of those troops underneath the healing tome. Now, the important part here, after you've done the initial assessment, is where you're going to bring in your RC and where you're going to place your free spells. That's the 2 most important things. I went ahead and placed my Overgrowth spell on a very high damage portion of the base. That's typical. Again, sometimes that includes the Town Hall, sometimes it doesn't. If the Town Hall is in the corner, then obviously I'm going to get that down quick, so it's not going to include the Town Hall. In those cases, my freezes are going to be on high damage items. So of course I'm going to be freezing the Monolith. I'm also going to be freezing, this base actually had 3 single target Infernos. I actually prefer to go against single target Infernos versus multi-target Infernos. Not exactly sure why. For some reason, I'm able to balance it a little bit better. Those multi-target Infernos, for some reason, feel like they do more damage to my troops. But the last thing that I do, after I'm kind of looking for freeze targets, is where am I going to bring in my RC? And as you saw, I will typically bring in my RC on the side where my Root Riders are not going, because if I combine my RC with the Root Riders, then my Root Riders kind of peter out, and then my RC starts taking a lot of damage. So let's look at the second attack to kind of give you another idea of how I hit my bases in Legend League, and to give you an idea of how you can have a perfect day in Legend League as well. Alright, so again, whenever I'm coming into a base, the first thing that I do is look at where I want to enter the base. Now, this has a super juicy section right around the Town Hall where an Overgrowth spell is going to be marvelous. And so I want to put that Overgrowth spell right there, because that is a ton of damage. I can cut out all of that damage and just completely cut it out with the Overgrowth spell. Now, as far as where I'm going to bring in my Root Riders, I know that I can get the Town Hall down because it's not all the way on the edge out here. It's kind of in the center. I can also Overgrowth it, so I want to kind of make sure that I can get towards the defenses that are going to do the most damage as quickly as possible. So in this case, I'm not going to spam. I'm going to put in a few Root Riders on this side. I'm going to put a few Root Riders on this side. I'm going to back them up with Valks behind them, 3 or 4 Valks. I'm going to back them up with Valks on this side, and then I'm going to dump everything right here in the middle, right around this King. Now, the King does a ton of damage, so that is the area. Remember, the next thing that I look for is the Skelly spells and exactly where I'm going to place them. You don't want to place them near Wizard Towers, because Wizard Towers are going to render them completely useless. You also don't want to put them around any bomb towers. You also don't want to put them around any multi-archer towers, because it's basically splash damage. Of course, multi-target Infernos is something that you do not want to put your Skelly spells, so I put them right here on the King, because the King, again, does a massive ton of damage, and you want to try to stop that, and you can distract him from that with those Skellies. Now, I'm going to put down one of the Headhunters in order to take down that King. I made sure that I got as many of those Root Riders in that heal spell as possible. Now it's freeze time. Where am I going to put my freezes? And of course, we have the Rage Spell Tower and a ton of defense coming from right here. So that is where I'm going to focus my free spells. Now, the Overgrowth, I will typically hold off on my Overgrowth spell for as long as possible. The moment that these defenses right here start shooting my troops, that's when I place the Overgrowth spell. Now, you don't want to let it shoot your troops for a long amount of time, because you don't want your troops to go outside of the base. Maybe your Root Riders are dead or kind of dead. You only have 2 or 3 left. And then you have to fight through all of this damage again in order to get back to the Town Hall. That just results in 1 stars. And believe me, I have done that before, so I completely get it. Now, we have our free spells left. Our Overgrowth has worn off, and then we're just freezing those high damage combination of defenses. That's not necessarily the Town Hall all the time, but that's typically an Expo combined with a Scatter Shot, or it's the Warden's Tower combined with the Monolith, or it's a Hero combined with a Multi-Archer Tower. So you want to try to connect with as many defenses as possible with your free spells. The only defense that I probably would freeze on its own would be the Monolith and maybe the Warden statue. But let's show you the last attack, which is actually the most frustrating of any that I come across, to give you an idea of how I hit it, and also some alternate ideas of how to hit it whenever you come across it in Legend League. Alright, so this last base is the most frustrating that I come across. I hate this base. There are several different versions of it. I look at it and have to figure it out. Now, granted, you may be a pro, and if you want to give me some tips on how I should hit this base differently, then please do. But I noticed in this section right down here that there was just the mortar, and that was it. And I could get these defenses, and I could start funneling my troops in through here if I was able to get those defenses down with the Flame Flinger. Now, this attack is super, super fast. So normally with something like this, I'll do super bowlers. So I'll have a Warden Walk going off on one side, I'll have a Flame Flinger going off on the other, and I'm able to take some time. So you don't have to attack right away. If you're going to use your Flame Flinger, you can give it some time. You can give it a little time to work. That way, it can do a lot more damage than if you just start it and then just send your troops in. You can get down defenses that could damage your troops. Now, remember, I have to pick where I'm going to enter. Now, typically, I won't use a Flame Flinger on a base like this. I will use a log launcher. And in this case, I could come in on this side, or I could come in on this side, or even this side. I decided to come on this side because I could go ahead and pre-place that poison spell and then just send everything in. And then, I decided to go ahead and start funneling on this side, which is interesting. I totally forgot that I did that. And then I'm going to go ahead and place the Skelly spell in front. Not the best of places because I have that multi-target Inferno. And then just spam everything in. Now, everything's going to go directly to this kind of collapse on this little section while my Flame Flinger is still doing massive work. And then they're going to start towards the center. Now, the hard part about this type of base is you're going to have to time this invisibility spell tower. Also, something else that I try to do is I try to save my healing tome as long as possible, possibly till the core. Also, if I can, or if you can, save your rage spells for the center, because that is a massive ton of damage. Now, I use the overgrowth spell in this case to direct my troops toward the center, knowing that if they can get through this center section, then eventually they could come back around. Or if I remember right, I went ahead and brought my RC in on this top section. That way she could take that out, and my Root Riders and my Heroes and my Queen wouldn't have to come back for that section. Now, this is a really dangerous section. My Headhunters were sent in kind of unprotected, but this is the reason why you have Headhunters. And if I could have protected them a little bit better, then that might have also gone a little better. At the same time, now I'm bringing my backup wizards, the 2 wizards that I showed you that I have in my army, for things exactly like this. So this might have been a time fail if I had let the Flame Flinger go a little bit too long, and so I bring backup wizards in to make sure that my troops don't have to come all the way back for a building, and then they can just focus on what's in front of them and completely smash it. So those are 3 attacks, 3 different style of attacks. The last one is super frustrating with those invisibility spell towers. Hopefully this helps you. Let me know in the comments below if this helped you get a perfect day in Legend League. I'm not sure if I'll ever get another perfect day in Legend League again, because I'm a very mid player and I welcome your feedback. So if you've watched these attacks and you're like, Tip, no, you need to do this, or you need to look at the base this way, don't forget about this, I welcome your feedback. Please give it to me in the comments below. Let me know how you are hitting bases. Make sure you like and share this video. Until the next video, I am TipDog20. I'll see you then.